What's up, everyone, and welcome back to the Carefree Black Nerd podcast. I am your host, Rhayne, and I have a very special episode today. It is a conversation with Tim Barnes. Oh my God. If you have not heard this man's name, you are going to hear it today and all the reasons why you should become familiar. Please let these folks know, Tim,
Yeah.
give some intro,
What?
something, let the
Okay.
people know.
Yeah. I'm a comedian. I'm a writer. I've written for the reboot of All That on Nickelodeon. I've written for The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. I've written for a new Nickelodeon sitcom called Warped, and right now I have a new animated web series that's coming out in 3 installments through Comedy Central on their animated YouTube channel. And it's science fiction. It's about race. It's about society. It's about money. It's about sports. It's about everything, all on the setting of Mars. Just using Mars as a way to recontextualize and think about our issues on Earth right now. And I'm very excited. I hope people love it, and I'm just trying to spread the word about it because I've been working on this for 2 years. I sent in the first script the summer of 2020. So you can't imagine how excited I am that it's finally out for the world to see.
Yes, Lord. 2 years, my goodness. Yeah, yeah. As a fan of animation, cartoons, and the like, I know the process for creating is it doesn't have the same turnaround as like a live show. But to know
Yeah.
that you've been working on this for 2 years, I'm like, okay. That my appreciation has gone up a little bit more now.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness, yes. The first episode will be linked in the show notes. So if you're
Awesome.
listening to this afterwards in the future, whatnot, please take a look, take a gander. Before getting to Maurice, let's get
Okay.
to Tim.
All right.
What okay, so I looked at of course I watched Maurice on Mars.
Uh,
I found some other stand-up.
okay. Yeah. Did you
You,
like it?
my
I hope you
friend,
liked it.
yes.
All right.
Yeah, no, it was horrible. Yes, golly. Okay, you are funny. Like I don't know how to explain it, and I don't want to like offend you by comparing you to someone else, but it's very much I don't know. It's like real life funny. That is not it. Either way,
But yeah, I think you can call my humor dry. I know in the Black community,
mm,
you can call my humor ashy. I don't know, but I'm very, very subtle a bit, and I think what
hmm
I try to do in my comedy is make it conversational, make
hmm
it so that you don't think oh, he's going to say a punchline now, and to
right.
kind of have a little bit of a rippling effect, where like maybe in a stand-up set, the laugh that you hear right now is actually people laughing about a joke from 2 jokes ago because they
Yes,
just caught up to it. So I try and
yes,
have these
yes.
waves of layers to my jokes, not dissimilar to the Matrix, maybe.
There we go. There we go. That is a good comparison. Yes. No, I thoroughly enjoyed like you. I was like, okay. So there's this thing with me.
Mm.
I think, either addicted to YouTube or YouTube is like a comfort blanket
Uh,
where I'll just scroll through the shorts or I'll go through the videos and my algorithm is all messed up. But most frequently, tiny houses and comedy is like my thing now. And
uh,
I'll come across someone and they'll do maybe a minute or two of something. I'm like, oh, okay, I gotta look into this person and all this and that.
yeah,
You, though I am not what I'll say a comedy purist or
uh,
a diehard, I need to get to XYZ. I was like,
yeah.
why is this my first time? This humor speaks to me. Um, is
I
a place
appreciate
where
it.
you say you're from. No,
Okay. Oh yeah.
of course. And that I've heard it several times, of course, but I'm laughing every time, and I'm like, am I a dork or is this like what's going on here? Why am I responding this way? But your comedy, I promise, I love it. I love
Thank you. Thank you.
it.
I
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. I am I don't know, sometimes I don't even know where I stand in the stand-up world or the comedy
hmm
world or
hmm
even the writing world. I'm
Okay.
kind of nebulous in a way, but I
Mm,
think everything that I do ends up centering in some way back to comedy, whether it's like I'm
Okay.
writing a pilot script for a TV show, I'm making an
Hmm.
animated web series. Anything. Even I try to write stuff about heavy topics sometimes, and then
Hmm.
I can't help but have that comedic bent at the end at the end of the tunnel.
Look, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it, and I'm looking forward to more of whatever you put out, be it a clothing line, another animated series, a line of microphones for comedians. I'll be there, ready and waiting. So how did you get here though? Like how did
Yeah.
comedy, was it always a part of your life? Is it something you kind of stumbled upon? Or how's that?
Yeah, comedy, I do think was always a part of my life. I come from a very funny family. My mom has this big extended family. My dad is one of 8 kids.
Oh
All of
wow.
those kids have kids. You know what I mean?
Okay.
So
Yeah.
it's nothing but jokes. And I was a pretty nerdy kid, nerdy black kid, kept to myself for the most part. Kind of
Hmm.
sat back and watched everything,
Yeah.
And I think that that affected that affected the style of my comedy that you're talking about, where it's a little
Hmm.
bit of a sneak attack. And I kind
Yes.
of do the same thing even when I'm staffed on writing shows, where usually there's someone who's good at acting out jokes and acting out
Hmm.
characters, or there's someone who's good at punchlines, or someone who's good at setups, or someone who's good at situations. What my strange skill is being able to say one thing quietly in the distance that triggers the big thing that gets the laugh from someone else, and then at the end, people forget that I was even there.
Oh
It's
no.
like I call myself the joke whisperer, you know.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
but to actually answer your question, yeah, I've always loved comedy. My first goal in life was to be a filmmaker,
Mm,
and I ended up going. I grew up in L.A., South Central LA. Wasn't allowed to go
okay.
outside as a kid, uh, and also didn't want to. Even if I lived in the suburbs, I wouldn't have wanted to go outside. I loved reading books and playing, and watching TV and watching movies, and so. And I still like even the stuff I'm doing now is centered around filmmaking in a way. But I always had this little thing where I knew that I wanted to do comedy. Like even in social
Okay.
settings, at a party, I repeat the same sort of casual conversational
Mhm.
jokes to see if they get the same reaction. Like I'm just naturally curious about
Okay.
how people react to a certain set of words
Yeah.
in a certain circumstance. And so I have these friends who were in a band, and they kind of knew that I had this inkling about wanting to do stand up, and so
Mhm.
they asked me if I would open for them for a show that they were doing in LA. And I
Okay.
believe that's what triggered me to first start going to open mics. And so I was going to open mics
Mm.
that were mainly like poetry open mics or music open mics, where I'd be the only comedian,
Yeah.
and that's really how it started. Then I moved to Chicago with my friend Ian Abramson. We went to high school together. We both were focusing on comedy. Um, I dabbled a little bit in improv and sketch, but really focused on stand up. But was also doing a bunch of behind the scenes stuff. Like I was a podcast producer, I was a
Mm.
video producer, that
Okay.
kind of thing. And I used to be kind of feel weird about that tension of the two things that I was doing, because there were a certain set of people who would see me, oh, that's the guy who produces podcasts, or oh, that's the comedian, or which one is he, that kind of
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
But actually, in the end, when I first started getting jobs in the industry, all of those skills came in handy, because when you're writing for something like Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon, and you have a bit, you're basically the producer of whatever bit that you wrote that got picked to be on the show, basically. So you're
Mhm.
talking to video editors, you're talking to audio editors, you're giving them very specific notes. So having worked in those fields actually helped me out
Mhm.
in the long run. But the real thing is like everything. It was just like small little steps. Uh, Meeting one person who keeps you in mind, and invites you to do one thing. It's like a bunch of things like that that led me down this path. But it was all about um, you know trying to be specific about my goals, and
Mhm.
when I had a goal, kind of uh, tailoring any little step, making sure that's just 1 inch closer to the thing that I want to actually do. So always shaving certain things out of my resume until my resume looks like what I want it to be.
Ah, oh my God, that seems like a great place to end that. Just to say, like, whatever industry you're in, get that resume to reflect what you
Yeah.
want. That oh, now that yes, yes, yes. Oh my goodness, you seem to have like okay. So me being a kid, much of a
Uh,
nerd as well.
yeah.
Comic books, cartoons, sports, like that was my life.
Uh,
And I had the thought of, oh, I could be an actor, I could be in a movie, but being a Midwestern kid where
uh,
there's not studios and whatnot around, like maybe they were in California, do you see a difference from like being in Chicago versus being in like I guess what I'm
yeah.
asking is did any of that LA-ness from a
Mhm.
Midwestern kid fuel your confidence to be like, "Oh, sure, I can be Ace Comic. I could be a stand-up comic." Versus, because I want to be in the pictures, but like I'm around
I
General
think it's
Motors, you know.
perhaps that I think yeah, you're right. There's like a nature nurture question there. I think probably unconsciously being growing up in a city where so much industry was just around,
Hmm.
certain things didn't seem totally out of grasp. But
Hmm.
another part of that is that my parents are people of faith, and there is
Okay.
something beautiful about they're a little dangerous at times about faith. Blind faith can be dangerous,
Yes,
but there
indeed.
is, I think, something beautiful about having this sort of feeling that no matter what, everything will will be all right. And even though I'm not, the most person of faith,
Hmm.
sometimes I feel like, I'm pretty agnostic. I still
Hmm.
have that thing, and I think that that is just something that was so ingrained in me as a kid that it's
Hmm.
just helped me out along the way of like, well, and it's just like the wisdoms that you hear from everybody.
Yeah.
Work as hard as you can. If you don't get something, maybe it wasn't meant to be because you know
Hmm.
that you worked hard enough, and
Hmm.
everything is gonna be okay.
That'll do
Yeah, yeah,
it. Well, that's good. That's good to hear. Honestly and truthfully, because you're running through all of the things you've done. I'm always so excited to hear people's accomplishments, but to see like this move that you've been on, like just not even like in the industry, but like geographically, like how you've kind of migrated around because you're in New York, am I correct?
yeah. I'm in New York. Yeah,
So you go from Cali to
yeah,
Illinois to Chicago, and then like you're hitting these major spots that a lot of people just like dream of going to or they'll
yeah.
vacation to,
I,
and
th-
it's
I
like
think
this is yeah.
I think a part of that is a result of me being a pretty sheltered kid in that
Okay.
I don't have much a locational attachment. I don't have, and I think that's something that I think is why I ended up creating Maurice on Mars in a way. Like what is it that attaches you to a location? I
Hmm.
find the fact that people think that because they're born in a city, that whatever team is in that city is just like
Yes.
it's
Yes.
just there is just something about that I've never understood and I've always found fascinating. So when
Mhm.
people like sometimes people ask me questions like, which one do you like better? Well, how do you deal with the cold in Chicago? My answer is usually, well, wherever I am, I'm usually staying in the house most of the time. So that never changes.
Hey, same.
We're all just people in a location, and I find the fact
Mhm.
that we think that locations are so spectacular or
Yes.
so worthy of conversation to be a little
Look,
strange.
look, the romanticization, whatever, the romance field Paris is a
Yeah,
key example.
yeah,
The way that Paris is like, "Ah, romance, we need to be there." It's like, okay."
yeah.
So that's a good segue. Let's get into Maurice. What is this? What am I watching? What is you touched on it a bit. What is this? What
What
is
is it?
Maurice?
Maurice on Mars is it's a web series, so it's 3 episodes are coming out. They're all just about 5 minutes long, and I collaborated with Comedy Central to make this happen. Um, it's about a lot of things. Like I had been thinking about Mars for about 5 years now in a very concrete way when I started noticing that, yeah, these billionaires are getting very serious about this, and they have to have some specific information. Like, it's not just fun, you know what I mean? Like, and then you look at certain stats about global warming, you look at certain stats about the state of the world, you just look at the state of the world, and you try and imagine a little further. We're going to be there. So about 5 years ago, I was like, yeah, we're definitely going to be on Mars in like 20 or 30 years. And so with that being a concrete fact, how would being on Mars affect race? How would that affect culture? How would that affect religion? How would that affect music? How would that affect, everything? And so the more that I think about that, the more that I started having these vague ideas of just doing something set on Mars. And then in the summer of 2020, I was in this strange situation where I was, I had been writing for the Tonight Show from my apartment because I started at the Tonight Show, during lockdown. So it was like when the show was in Jimmy's house. Then there was the murder of George Floyd, and then this massive wave of protests, and then just surreal things about the serious weight of everything. I think people are kind of in denial of what we've experienced in the past 2 years. But I'll never forget this sort of surreal feeling when I believe it was the day after Donald Trump stated that he was going to sic the National Guard on the protesters against police brutality. The first private SpaceX rocket was launched into space. And so there was, I could never imagine seeing the situation so clear where the world is on fire. There's a global virus, a pandemic. There is a racial reckoning happening across the globe. And now the billionaire has a private space vehicle that's going to make space a casual thing. So that all kind of crystallized into what I initially pitched to Comedy Central, which was this thing called Maurice on Mars. And Maurice on Mars is about a young, struggling Black artist named Maurice who works in a coffee shop. He sneaks onto a shuttle to the first Martian colony. The only job he can get there is also at a coffee shop. And because he snuck on, he doesn't get this mandatory implant that erases certain Earth memories to keep the peace and to keep the members of the society on Mars so that they're not aware of the history of conflict on Earth. But because Maurice doesn't have that implant, he is literally the only person who can actually see that this colony is just repeating the same Earth problems and putting a new face on it. Now, that is a very heady premise, and I somehow was able to get a lot of that information into one 5-minute episode that is out now. And I know, it's something that I hope could become a show. But if anything, I think it's truly like the first thing that I've created that's just purely something that I wrote that kind of is the type of thing that I would like to continue making.
Okay.
It's like the first thing I've made that I feel like, oh, my voice is concrete on this.
Okay.
Yeah.
I can see it. Like, having watched the first episode, that's the only one that's live at the time of this recording. Everything you've said, I can see in that 5-minute episode, and it's done so well that even before you explaining, like just watching through it first couple times, I'm like, oh, okay, I get this, I see it. Like even the ending, for as good as the episode is, that very last like line is what had me laughing the loudest. Like after everything that happened, that I was like, "Are you freaking kidding me?" So first of all, kudos for that.
Thank you.
One question I do have though about the characters, because we do have a cast of colorful folks in this first episode, anyways. Is everyone from Earth? Because what's homegirl's name? Is it
Janice, his
yeah?
coworker. Yeah.
I was like,
What's going on with her? Yeah,
what's they?
I have a concept. So my
Okay.
goal with this is to make all of the characters interesting, to make the situations interesting, and for people to want more and to speculate a bit, so that you know that if this were to become a show, there are so many
Mm-hmm.
paths and so many things that could be explored. The
Okay.
idea is for us to question whether or not Janice is an alien. Janice is an alien, but that's the thing. This is not a show. There's a lot of sci-fi shows where aliens are given, and I was
Mm-hmm.
interested in a story where these are humans on another planet, and
Mm-hmm.
they are still in the situation we're on Earth, where we're not sure if aliens exist. And so when you explore that on another planet, you like the humans are the aliens
Mm-hmm.
on this planet. So is Janice a Martian? Is she an alien from another planet? Those are things to be discovered. I can't. They aren't explained in these 3 episodes, but
Okay.
if people are interested enough, there is a story there.
I love it. I like honestly and truthfully watching through. Of course, I'm like, okay, I'm excited. I was like, oh, I hope this is good. If I'm going to be talking to them, I hope this is good. And like, yes, yes, it is. It's very every bit good from start to finish. I love the art style. As someone who grew up with again
Yeah.
'90s old
Yes.
school cartoons, I'm seeing the kind of shift at what some animation is now,
Mhm.
and I don't have that fanboy anger that a lot of people tend to
Yeah.
have, but I do like this art style.
Yeah.
And I think it makes this story like for all the heavy topics that you mentioned,
Mhm.
I don't want to say it sugarcoats them because that's not it, but it just feels heavy, but it feels like heavy but served on beautiful china. Like I don't know, it just it's like it doesn't make me sad. It makes
Yeah.
me think, but it doesn't make me sad. I'm like, oh, okay, well,
Yeah.
these
It
police. Yeah.
Yeah, I love the '90s. Of course, as a guy who writes for Nickelodeon and stuff like that,
Mm,
I
mhm.
'90s animation is my thing. And I kind of ultimately, when we were discussing the animation style, I kind of had this theory that um, our generation. What year were you born? I was born in 1989.
Oh,
Um,
a couple years for you, 86? Yo, shoot,
86. Okay.
86. Yo. Yeah, 86.
That we deserve our nostalgia, right? Like we deserve to have, and that I feel like there's a space where everything goes in these sorts of cycles, everything kind of dips back a bit because people remember that thing that they loved when they were a kid. And so in making my first cartoon, I wanted it to reflect the things that I loved when I was a kid as well.
Mhm.
But I think what you're really liking about this animation style and the characters is that I got this amazing artist named Uche to design all of the
Okay.
characters. And he has
Mhm.
this awesome webcomic called Vibe Check. And if you can
Mm.
find his Instagram, he is just a hilarious person, one of my favorite artists, and has a great mind. I think he has a great future ahead for him. And it
Mhm.
was a true honor for me to be able to get him on board. Like he was someone that was
Mhm.
like, when this got greenlit and when we were talking
Mhm.
animation studios, like we got to get this guy on.
Mhm.
And
I see.
so a lot of what you're seeing is his natural animation style and
Okay.
or his natural character design style and
Mhm.
the two kind of pillars that I suggested, or when I was trying to think of the logic of the way the characters work in the show,
Mhm.
is that it's a little bit of the sort of abstract shapes and colors that you would see in
Yeah.
something like Hey Arnold, but still
Mhm.
grounded in a sort of King of the Hill way. And
Yeah,
so,
brother, that is I'm go ahead, but yeah, y'all nailed that. But go ahead. Yeah.
where they are kind of wacky looking, and they can pass there's something called the silhouette test when it comes to designing
Yeah.
characters,
Yeah.
but they are still grounded and they're not too abstract or weird, and the shapes aren't
Mhm.
too weird.
Mhm.
So it's been interesting. The first episode is out, and it has a little bit of paid promotion, and so this is something where it's just popping up on people's computers and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this first episode, with it being called Radical Earth Theory, and with the main character being black, and with the creator me being black, I think it's rubbed a few people the wrong way. Like the comment section of this episode is truly the Wild West.
I'm sure.
But I was so happy to get to this point where it felt like we had truly created a fully fleshed out and sort of almost like an interactive world with Maurice on Mars. Like especially when it comes to the design of what the actual coffee shop looks like on the inside, where it's like it feels just normal enough. It feels enough like an Earth cafe, but still has a little bit of sci-fi flair. And I was also trying to go for a thing where like Maurice on Mars takes place in a future, but it's an unspecified future.
Okay.
And so the idea is that this is a show that could have come out in the 80s, or could have come out in the 70s, or could have come out in the 90s. And these are there. All of those concepts of the future are there. So I'm sorry, I start to ramble sometimes.
No, but that's you've hit all the points, because you're absolutely right, because that would have been my next question, is like, where is this set, or is it a just general 3000 like it's because it's so, even the clothing I love. Well, one, with the black characters, their palms, folks, please, like this attention. So even in the abstractness of it all, these black characters have dark skin with light palms. Like this, you rarely see this. You rarely see this at all. And I was like, you know what? I paused it and I clapped, because that's but even with that, the clothing, there's a character who is with a study group, and when it pans, the camera pans, you see all of the different clothes. I was like, this feels like just Jetsons enough, but just contemporary. Like it was like very like I could see this as a Kanye piece, but I also could see Elroy Jetson with this. I was like, okay,
Kanye was a direct influence. Like that was like I do think Kanye is keyed into the fashion of the future. And it feels like Kanye's vision of the future is that you're pretty dystopic when you look at it.
Very. You are not wrong.
And we also had a friend of mine, Grant Lindahl. He was involved in the on the Comedy Central end with giving some suggestions. He's a great artist. He created this series for Comedy Central Digital called Tales from the Trip, where like celebrities and people, comedians and musicians, they tell stories about crazy acid and shrooms trips that they've been on. And so he sent a few designs of like abstract work and abstract fashion our way, and we sent those to Uche for some inspiration for I think Alistair is the character that you're talking about. He's the one who has that sort of cone.
I think it's red. I think
but
I love it. I honestly and truthfully, I'm like, I'm not trying to rush you, because whatever y'all got going on is what y'all got. But I want the merch. I want a hoodie. I would like a T-shirt, please. Like I want Maurice. I want Beta. Like So just throwing it out there. If that is something later on down the line, I hope definitely.
Yeah, I want that too. Yeah. And you were suggesting I might open a fashion line. Maybe this is it.
Hey, look, trust and believe you have it. At the very least, you have my money. I'm very much a nerd, and I think I'm in the part of the culture. I ain't gonna say stan, but in that part of the culture, support the things you like.
Yeah.
To be ridiculous, Whataburger down here in Texas, if they have a nice shirt, I'm probably going to get it, because I'm just like, oh, I like this. This looks good. But like this, Maurice face on the shirt. I'm wearing it. Just so someone can ask me questions, and I'm like, oh, well, check this out. So.
Make sure you tag Comedy Central on this. I want to make sure they hear this as well.
Absolutely. I'm not even. Yeah, Comedy Central. Bring the merch and bring the full series order. Bring, I ain't in TV, but whatever y'all say, give me all
Yeah.
of that, and I'd like a movie as well. So,
Wow,
hey,
our dreams are totally in sync right here. I
there we
love
go.
this. Yeah.
There we go. I'm with it. I'm with it. And you said so. It's 3 episodes.
Yes.
As of right now, it's 3 episodes every
Yes.
Friday.
Every Friday,
Uh,
yes.
okay.
So episode 1 came out. Episode 2 is coming out June 17th, and then
So today, because
yes.
this will go up. I'll just have this come out Friday. Friday
Oh yeah,
morning.
yeah. So episode 3 is out today, and episode
Mm-hmm.
4 comes out June 24th. Episode
Mm-hmm.
2 is about sports on Mars, and episode 3 is about the very first recession on Mars, which
Mm.
Maurice starts in a very
Wait, bro. Go ahead. Go ahead.
I don't want to give too many spoilers. What I'm
Oh
going to
yeah, yeah.
say
Okay.
is, keep an eye out on the chocolate bars in all 3 episodes.
My goodness. Well, I'll say this much. My birthday is the 24th of June. So this will be a good thank you. This is my birthday present from you. I'm just letting you know. Thank you for my birthday present for this recession episode. But my goodness. Yeah, this is honestly it's a great show. If what we've said so far has not convinced you, then like, what are you doing? Just go watch it. Um, can you speak to Beta?
Oh yes.
What is happening
I have
here?
learned from on every podcast I've gone on. I think there's a lot of love for Beta.
Yes.
Beta for me just is a character that encompasses everything all the questions that I have about robotics when it comes
Mm,
down to you know why do we as humans tend to gender robots? What is sentience?
mhm,
If you and then other questions of you know can a robot be in denial about the fact that they're a robot? Can you be a self-hating robot? Can you, I think there's a conversation that happens in the first episode between
yes.
Beta and these two drones, where for me, like deeper within that, and something that could be explored in future episodes or something like that, is robots are considered machines. They're considered tools used by humans for our purposes. So if you think
Mhm,
about that and how that parallels to other issues, if you were a robot, you might feel like you don't want to be considered a robot. And so I think there's
oh,
parallels on a social level with that.
mhm.
So Beta is a character who's trying to move on up, trying to start their own business, trying you know, Beta does not want to be seen as a robot. Beta is an
Mm,
entrepreneur. Beta is
yes, yes.
so there's a lot to be explored. There's a lot to be explored there. Uh,
Beta is hilarious. I
Beta, by the way, you an All That fan?
Oh, absolutely.
You know Lori Beth Denberg?
Yes, I do.
Lori Beth
Yes.
Denberg is the voice of Beta.
I kn Are you serious?
I'm serious.
You know what? I would say I genuinely like Beta, but I will also say there's probably that nostalgic,
Yeah.
rose-colored glasses or whatever that's, like, sucking me in 'cause I wasn't I just knew I liked this character. So that again sold me. This next thing you're gonna tell me is that Beyonce is the executive producer. You said like
She
can
could
we
be. She might not
hey,
let anybody know it, but she could be pulling the
you are
strings with that.
absolutely right.
Yeah.
That is what she did. Oh my god, that like I don't know. I'm sorry. I'm having this like freak out moment, like I'm a kid again. And, sitting there watching cartoons because this is so. It's one thing to let's say X-Men, the animated series. Everyone,
Yeah.
well, for the most part, most people like that show, and it's like, oh, this is exciting. I'm looking at this show. It treats kids like they're adults. It gives us serious storylines. It's interesting, but it's another thing to then see the behind the scenes of X-Men the animated series, and like to
Mm.
see a show like this is like I feel like that's kind of sort of what you're getting, even though you're watching the show. Like
Yeah.
listening to you, I can see it's almost like you didn't have to say anything because everything you're saying, I can clearly see reflected through this episode. So I just kudos
Thank
to
you.
you, to
Yeah.
the team, like, and it's So one point in particular, the radical Earth theory.
Yes.
When that's mentioned, the cackle that I released, seeing every like
Yeah.
it's. I'll say, unfortunately, this is probably timeless. I'm sure you could play this 10 years from now, and we may still be able to just like laugh at this, not just because it's good, but we
Yeah.
live
Yeah.
here on this earth so far.
You know what's
But
funny about that line in particular? It is one of my favorites. Might be my favorite line in the whole
mhm.
episode. That line was not written in the scripts,
Okay.
and I think this highlights what's great about animation is that there are discoveries you can have along the way that
Mhm.
you wouldn't normally have in a live action production.
Right.
So when we were recording, and by the way, this was all recorded in the height of the pandemic. So we
Mm.
shipped microphones to all of the talent and had
Okay.
separate voice recording sessions with each of them. And
Okay.
so when we were recording this with Joe Castle Baker voices, the name of his character is Ernie. He's the angry student, and the
With
huh?
with the brown hair.
With
The
like with uh oh no, he's the angry student who says radical Earth theory. He's teaching
Okay.
radical
Okay.
Earth theory.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah.
Um, the uh, the audio person at Cartoona who was running all of those recording sessions, he just kind of paused and said, "It seems like there's something we can add here, something we can add to give a little bit of emphasis." And then I said,
Mhm.
"Oh yeah, maybe something like radical Earth theory." And it was like, "Bam!" That's how it happened, you know. So the episode is still about radical Earth theory, but I never had the term radical Earth theory in my
Mhm.
mind when I was writing the scripts. But it was one of those great because someone asked a question and it sparked an idea, and you just say one thing that really gives an extra punch to this moment,
Yes.
and now it's like it's what I named the episode after, you know.
Mhm.
So it's great to and I tried to cultivate this space, even though this was created in the most everyone's in their silos in their apartments,
Mhm.
everything's through email kind of situation, enough
Mhm.
space for like people to be involved and add their own
Yeah.
creativity to the project, because it's there's just always these gems that you can find.
Now, does that come from the improv part of your backstory, or is that like
I
is
think
that
I
yeah?
think it's a little bit, but it's also, like I said, like I'm a part of a very big family, and
Okay.
there's a there is a I don't know, there's like a cadence that I have, or just like a it's gonna sound like I'm a stoner or something, but like a life rhythm that I have where it's
Okay.
I like I was talking about stand up to someone the other day, and I was talking about how, I use the phrase conducting an audience. And I like
Mm,
to sort of, when I'm in a social setting, I like to like conduct the conversation. I like
mm,
to, but all that really means is I like to have everyone involved. And my
okay.
leadership style is like a little bit more like you know, not like a dictator, but
Mhm.
a collaborative conductor. I think the
Okay.
best person to kind of compare that to, and it's going to sound ridiculous, me comparing myself to a legend. That's not what I'm trying to
Okay.
say. But the type of composition that Duke Ellington was famous for,
Okay.
and that it was actually a little bit of conflict with him and the people in his orchestra. But
Mhm.
he was inspired by these natural improvisations that the people in his orchestra were making,
Mhm.
and then he would incorporate that into the final composition. So it's
Mm.
Duke Ellington compositions are actually like they're not just purely from his brain.
Okay.
They're similar to producing a sketch show at
Mhm.
Second City, where it's like it starts off you're improvising a bunch, and then you kind of notice these certain things. You're like, oh, this is
Mhm.
funny. What if we do this, this, and this? And then you go
Yeah.
from improvisation to a full, fully, a constructed sketch. And
Mhm.
I didn't do that much improv. I'm not a big sketch person, but I
Mhm.
think that I really really love being in a room with funny people
Yeah.
and getting people's takes, and I like helping to mold the final product.
You've done that, and like it's so interesting to hear you say that because I think a lot of times, maybe not so much now, but growing up, you get this idea that whatever's said on TV is what's on the paper.
Hmm.
Unless it's like you said, more of a sketch comedy show or something of that nature,
Yeah.
whatever said is said. But finding out years later that Tony Stark saying "I am Iron Man" was not in the script, and then seeing that ripple effect. So, like, to hear what you're talking about, it's like, man, that is so awesome when you are able to consume media however it's presented, but then later on figure out, like, no, this is not always just what's written down. Sometimes giving people the space to just be can
Yeah.
have these amazing, be it comedy, be it drama, be it animation, be it, I don't know, a YouTube vlog, like giving people the space to be people, like, surprisingly enough, you'll get gems
Yeah.
right there.
Yeah,
So,
yeah, and it's all about, I think when people are comfortable, you get
mhm,
such great stuff from them. Another like one of my favorite lines in this episode, I didn't write this one.
mhm,
Dwayne Kennedy, who voices Joe, he's the one who's reading a book and is
yeah,
saying all the snide comments. He totally, when we got to his recording session, like I had a very strict 5-page mandate.
mhm,
So there are a lot of things that were just weren't on the page because there wasn't
wow,
room for the five
yeah,
pages. But I
mhm,
kept being like, Dwayne Kennedy is one of the funniest people on earth, and I want to squeeze any moment that I can cut back to Joe. I want it in
mhm,
there. So I had these little spots where it was like, maybe Joe can say something here, and he totally ad libbed. He totally improvised the line after Maurice gets the jar put over him. Look at that, the system putting another brother in a jar. That he totally improvised that, and that is one of the funniest lines of anything I've ever seen. Like I just love it so much.
yeah.
Um, yeah,
No, no, I'm with you. Like, even, and I don't want to give away the episode, but like, even in thinking about his conversation, like about a song earlier, for to find, like, to hear that after, it's like, this show is bonkers. Like, it's everything matters. Like, you want that to happen, but like, there's not one thing that's said it feels like a throwaway line, but it's all so good. It's like,
thank you, thank you.
that team and that Joe, and I was going to ask you his name because
Yeah,
I'm like, what is? I'll say this: you guys have done an amazing job at not only presenting a great episode that makes you want to watch the episode, but you've presented every character that now I want to know more. I don't have to get a full, 2 episode arc, but like, I want to know, because, like, what are you doing just sitting here in the midst of all of this, and like, knowing how
yeah.
we got here? What do you do? Like, what is, so it's like there's nothing in this show, or man, I'll rephrase it.
Mm,
Everything in this show, especially the people or the persons or
mm.
the living,
The
breathing body,
characters, yeah, yeah,
there we go. That's, yes, characters in the show.
yeah,
I want to know more. Like, I genuinely want to see. Okay, even the college, like, oh,
yeah.
what is this? So y'all have done
Thank
a
you.
great job,
I'm so
truly.
grateful that you and so many other people are loving loving this world. Yeah, yeah, and that's how I made this so that hopefully it would get people to want to know more. This is
Hmm,
sort of
hmm,
this is a bit of a teaser of what could be
hmm,
more if this were to ever
hmm.
become a show or something like that.
Perfect, perfect. I I'll say you guys have done a, for me personally, I'm very much comic geek,
Uh,
DC, Marvel, all that stuff, but a lot of that is so steeped in lore that's been established,
yeah,
to get something that's so fun like this where you don't know what's happening. Like, everybody
yeah,
could just die in the next episode or go back to, or like, I don't know.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that unknown plus how good it is makes
yeah.
me like, okay, what's happening next?
Thank
What's
you.
the
Yeah.
continuity of this show?
It
So,
it it was, I was nervous about a few things because it feels like you can't make a show set in the future without it being compared to, like, Rick and Morty or Futurama, you know what I mean?
okay. Hmm.
And, I wanted to make sure that, the reality of this colony wasn't that, "Oh, there's all kinds of cool future things happening all the
Mm,
time," and, I got nervous and I started rewatching episodes of Futurama, like, am
hmm.
I because Futurama has kind of done everything you can imagine about comedy that takes place in the future. So and other things, like I didn't want people to think, oh, this is, what is this, just Bob's Burgers in space? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I
So
get it.
I did go through this process of trying to like really hone in on what this show is, what
Mm-hmm.
makes it different from the others, and what could hopefully let it coexist with the other cartoons that
Mm-hmm.
take place in the future. Uh, and I think we found something close to what that is.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's resonating with some people, so that's great.
Oh yes. Oh yes. And to your point, at least with me personally, those other shows didn't come to mind because you
Thank you. Oh, yeah.
do like kind of think of, there's a guy in a metal suit. Oh, that's just like Iron Man. It is not to say that you that you didn't draw influence maybe from something that you saw, but
Uh,
watching this, I never considered Futurama. I never considered another cartoon. Like I might think about it now that you
yeah.
said it and I'm watching, but like watching it, I was like, I was so focused on what I was consuming. It never was like, oh, this is must be fried. This is like I
Uh,
never got that. That never was a feeling. What did come to mind, which is so weird, what is the movie with Cole Sprouse and the girl from To All the Boys I Loved Before? It's like a movie with them going into space. Like that kind of
ah,
was there, but I've never
okay.
seen it.
Yeah,
Like
yeah. I don't think I've seen that.
I've seen previews, like Netflix or something. Like I've never
uh,
seen that movie, but that was like, oh, what if this is in the same universe? Because I'm quick to do something like that. But no. I didn't consider any other like cartoon. I was never like comparing it in that way. It was more or less like, oh, this
yeah.
is again deep, but it doesn't make me sad. This is making me think. No, because like even when we
Yeah.
get the um parental clip, I'll say that to
Oh,
be
yes.
as vague as possible. I was like,
Uh,
oh, so I'm looking in the background like I want to know. I want to know this now. Like so I don't at this point I'm just going to keep saying the same thing. You have done a fantastic job, but there's not 1 second of this episode that I am not intrigued, that I do not want to know more, that I
Thank
am
you.
not now rooting for. Again, I'm not part of TV, so full series order. I think that
Yeah,
sounds
sure.
like okay. There we go.
Sure.
That
Yeah.
sounds like what should be said.
Yeah.
Um, just because,
Yeah,
God,
yeah. And
mm,
if anyone, if people are really digging this, I do have a concept of, what a full version of this Maurice on Mars
mm,
can be.
mhm,
Um, uh, yeah, yeah. And you know what? I'm learning from the comments, that it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I hope,
mm,
the goal is that people who like science fiction, who like to think about the future, and who like comedy,
mhm.
can all find joy in this project.
Yeah,
Uh, yeah,
absolutely.
yeah,
Oh my goodness. I don't. So I guess maybe hit on Maurice. Because I imagine that this is a little bit of self art and self in art, or
oh
some of
yeah,
the more.
yeah, yeah,
Okay.
definitely. It's something that I think for the process that was needed
Mm-hmm.
for this, and I'm totally I have no clue what the budget was on this. I was purely a creative force, which is a great feeling. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I think for the requirements and a way for it to even in the position that I am to kind of get people that I know and the people who know me as a comedic presence to get interested in this. Yeah, Maurice looks like me. It's he looks like a younger version of me.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's a little more hopeful than me, although he's still
Mm-hmm.
jaded.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, do you think that rubs people the wrong way? I don't know. It's I'm very when I write notes in this process of sending notes to the animators,
Mm-hmm.
I don't say, hey, can I do this, or can Tim do this? I always refer to him as Maurice. He's in
Okay.
my mind someone separate from myself,
Mm-hmm.
and and but yeah, yeah, he looks like me.
Yeah.
Okay,
I mean, yeah. I can see it. I can see a bit. I can see it there. But I thoroughly enjoy Maurice. It's funny. he's funny in a way, like, to compare him to, like, live action, where I could definitely see him being one of the greats. And now bear with me now.
Uh-huh.
Think of, like, cartoons, and maybe cartoons is more so for adults. Like you there's like maybe a few deaths that come to mind, maybe
Yeah.
a few characters. And like watching this, I genuinely feel like I could cosplay as Maurice for Halloween. I
That's
could
it.
go to a convention. Like I
That's
it's
the greatest compliment. Yeah, yeah. I
hey.
wanted him to feel universal in a way. And
Hmm.
I think I also, I'm what you could call, a palatable black person, someone who and that's, because Maurice looks like me, that's who he is.
Hmm.
And I'm interested in exploring the space where you have a black character that doesn't make you think about the fact that he's a black character, or a character
Okay.
that, the the ability to be a universal black character is something that is apparently difficult in science fiction. If you look at what's happening with like Riva in a, so
Listen.
I want Maurice to be universal,
Hmm.
but also specific when the story requires it. And that's also how I do
Hmm.
my stand up. Like my
Hmm.
stand up is like, oh, I'm a a guy, and then it's like, no, I'm a black guy, and then it's like, no, I'm
Hmm.
so yeah, yeah,
Well, y'all nailed it. Y'all nailed it. That's something that when I say it's heavy, but it doesn't make me sad. If I can get political for a second,
uh,
Maurice and Joe, but specifically Maurice, are black people in a future.
yeah,
Again, we don't. It's not specified when, but in a lot of science fiction and properties like this, you don't get a lot of us being represented in the future. Or if we are, it's like one,
yeah.
maybe two. It's like
Or
a
it's
person and their child. Mhm.
it's a future where no one comments on race.
Right.
So I
Yes.
actually thought it was very exciting to create a future where black people exist, but where
Hmm.
there is still some sort of racial tension, but it
Hmm.
might not be the exact same way that it is on Earth. But it's still,
Hmm.
why are the drones so quick to put a jar over? Why are the drones treating him a certain way? These are actual legit questions that we have
Hmm.
with the future of robotics. You can
Hmm.
train robots to be just as racist as humans can be. You can
Absolutely.
train
Hmm.
robots to have the same biases.
Hmm.
Am I saying that right? I don't know. But so that situation is a subtle way to explore some of those issues.
And again, I think you guys have hit the nail on the head. I'm not biased because we're talking. I'm biased because I enjoyed it. So, if you're listening, you're like, oh, he just saying it. Well, go and watch for yourself, and come back and argue with me, because I'm honestly, it's an enjoyable experience watching. And I think there is, y'all pack so much in this. Like there is like a protest, kind of, sort of. I was like, what is
Yeah,
happening?
it's like a mini revolution. Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
I was like, this is so, but it's done in a way that, again, I say it makes me think, but it doesn't make me sad. And not to say that you shouldn't. Just me personally, I'm not sad at what I'm watching, what I'm
uh,
consuming, um, and I think it's something that really. I don't know what it's rated. I'm grown, so I watch everything, but I feel like you could let a younger person watch this, and like, is that? Am I right? Because I don't have no
You're
kids,
right,
so I don't
yeah,
know.
and I think that's sort of intentional, and I think that's, a skill, that I've kinda gained writing for 2 Nickelodeon projects, is sort of
Hmm.
finding a pretty universal tone,
Yeah.
while being able to tackle difficult topics, and I'm a comedian who likes that challenge. There's this
Mm.
conversation about, comedians feel like they have to tiptoe, or that,
Right.
quote unquote woke, or what, I don't know what's going,
Hmm.
like all these words floating around. But this is the challenge of the situation of our current era. And so
Hmm.
I think that there's a lot of skill necessary in finding the right frequency to tackle an issue, and to create comedy that can kind of hit all quadrants but
Hmm.
still feel singular. This
Yeah.
is again where I start saying everything I say just turns into verbal jazz. But
You've done it though. I'm over here jamming to it because it's honestly, truthfully that good. I think you fall for the characters, you get interested in the world, and even if there is some opposition, I think that it, it's still it's still worth a watch. Like,
Mm.
don't blindly oppose it if that's where you're going to end up, if that's where you're going to land. But there's nothing that I feel like has been presented that was untrue, that is malicious, that is like evil. Like
Yeah,
I
yeah,
don't know.
yeah.
It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
good,
yeah, yeah.
you know. So
And these are things that I naturally, like you've been saying, like there are a lot of topics that could be very sad.
mhm,
And I think a lot of comedians have this thing where you can always find something funny, and that's scary, and that's the edge
mhm,
that that's the edge that every comedian is talking about these days. It's like,
mhm,
but yeah, there is a path to find humor in certain intense topics, and to
mhm,
make that something that's expansive, and that you can also learn from it.
mhm.
So yeah, not to be a comedy TED Talk guy, but these are the things that I'm interested in, and these are the things that I make, and it just is what it is. It's
Mhm.
not gonna change.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, it's again, you guys done well. I would like for everyone listening, everyone under the sound of my voice, even if this is blasting from someone's car and you can hear it, go over to YouTube. No, please check the link in the show notes. I'll have everything listed. I honestly, truthfully would love for everyone to give this show a watch. It's not going to take a lot of time out of your day. You're going to get like you drive, well, not driving. Wait, don't drive, don't drive and watch, but like
Yeah.
it's compact enough that you can find time to sit
Yeah, if
down
you're on the
and
bus,
watch
if you're on the
this.
train, if you're on the elevator, on the escalator, if you're,
Absolutely.
yeah.
If you're babysitting
Uh,
and you no what I don't know, but yeah, give it a watch. Maurice on Mars. I can't say that. Maurice on Mars. Maurice on Mars. Maurice on Mars. What do you have? Any maybe thoughts? Any questions? Any predictions for the for the series? I don't know. Love interest coming up for Maurice? No. What do you have any maybe final thoughts, concerns, or even a message that you'd like to get out in reference to Maurice?
um, Nothing is popping to my mind right now, but I
Hmm.
think in an effort to promote this and spread awareness, like all I really want to do is let people know that real human beings created this show, and that it's a show that was made with a lot of care. It's not just some corporation churning out some from an algorithm some product, which I think
Yes.
uh, is an honest feeling that a lot of people have when
Hmm.
they get content popping up in their feed. But this is a show that was created with a lot of care and a lot of love, and I want people to hopefully love these characters and to want more. And Yeah, I don't know if I have a message, but it's it's just keep watching Maurice on Mars, and if you like it, spread the word, because just one like, one share, one
Hmm.
positive comment goes a long way. And I
Absolutely.
appreciate everyone who's showing love for it.
Oof.
Um, yeah.
Yeah. Amazing. Amazing. Um, please let these folks know where they can follow you, support you,
Yeah.
enjoy you, all that. Purely professional manner.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Oh, so you don't want
that
my
could.
OnlyFans account?
I
Uh,
mean, I'll put it in the show notes if you got it, but hey, it's up to you.
yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at TimBarnes451. That's a temperature at which jokes burn. You can get more information on me at TimBarnesComedy.com. And I have I co-host a Star Wars podcast called Yub Nub with these two other comedy writers, Greg Iwinski and Jim Fagan, where we talk about Star Wars, but the focus is always on being a Star Wars podcast for fans who actually like Star Wars. So
Yeah.
trying to, even when we have, things that we don't like about Star Wars, we always try to go back to that core, childlike love that we have for this franchise at the end of the day. So, and it's all about just having fun. So yeah, those are the places you can find me. Maurice on Mars, just type it in everywhere. Maybe use the hashtag Maurice on Mars if you post it anywhere. And anything to make me stop rambling right now. I always do this at the end of podcasts and conversations where I just keep don't know how to end with a definitive statement.
That's all right. That's all right. That's part of your charm. That's part of your charm. If I can for a second, I've tried to get into Star Wars. I'm not against it. I'm not opposed to it.
Yeah.
I like it. I just don't have the same conviction that others have. And recently I was like, Star Wars fandom is eating so good, but a lot of them seem so miserable. I was like, but I like what I've seen.
Yes.
So, and I actually started listening to one of the episodes of Yub Nub.
Yeah.
And I don't know if that's Star Wars fans, don't chop my head off, but I'm like, okay, this is something that may not get me into Star Wars, but will make me keep me maybe abreast of what's happening and get me a little bit more knowledge. Because I don't like the hate that I've seen. So I'm like, I just want to enjoy the franchise, but I don't want to do it wrong. So I will say to you guys' credit, I started listening to it. Maybe your most recent episode, whichever one is on your site.
Yeah.
Click that, and I was like, okay, this is good. I can see myself listening. So I'll say, hey, jack of many trades. All trades.
I appreciate it. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah. Whew. And Yub will be also listed in the show notes. You guys have no excuse to say, oh, well, I couldn't find. Yeah, it's all listed. So if you're listening, check the show notes. You'll have all that listed there. Tim, you've been phenomenal.
Truly, you have been a great host. So many great questions, genuine interest. I've been on the end of being the person interviewing people. I've been in a lot of different interviews, and you bring an amazing amount of energy, and this truly feels like a fun space to be in conversation with you. So I appreciate you for having me on. And if you ever want me back on, I'm happy to join you.
Oh, absolutely. This is your open invitation to come back. Even if you, I don't know, again, do a clothing line. Whatever, you're always welcome back. Don't, please. So, and all you guys, well, first of all, thank you for your kind words. You didn't have to say all that. I didn't pay this man.
Yeah, did I read it well? Yeah, I know you put all that in the chat here.
You did. Cut this. But no, everyone, please go and follow Tim. Follow him on social media. Get those numbers up. Show Comedy Central that, hey, this has an audience. Even if it's this niche group that listens to this black nerd rant about comics, we're here. No, so please check out the show. Follow Tim. Use the hashtag. I'm big at hashtags up here. Maurice on Mars. And I'll be sharing this throughout the next couple weeks with the 2 episodes dropping today and following Friday. And
awesome.
Thank you so much again for coming on and just talking your good stuff with us. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Oh, okay. Well, guys, you can follow me on Twitter, CarefreeBlackNerd, everywhere else, CarefreeBlackNerd, TikTok, CarefreeBlackNerd, because y'all know I'm trying to blow up over there, do little dances and whatnot. So hit me up there. If you have to email me, CarefreeBlackNerd@gmail.com, please make the subject line pretty clear so I know what I'm getting into. And until next time, stay carefree, stay nerdy, stay geeky. And if you ever find yourself on Mars at a coffee shop, please be kind of aware. Actually, watch Maurice on Mars so you'll know what to anticipate if you do end up in Mars on a coffee shop. All right, y'all. Very specific, huh? Yeah.